Guys, today, welcome. We're going to kick off an Accelerate session. Very excited to introduce you to Hilarie Legg from World Gym Australia. Welcome, Hilarie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Steve, for inviting me on. I'm very excited to be here.
I appreciate you jumping on. I know we met a couple of weeks ago at Filex, and then I saw you on an expert panel, even just on the weekend in Sydney again for the Oz Fitness Expo. Really looking forward to this session, an opportunity to hear more about World Gym and pick your brain a little.
Yeah, please do. It's exciting. No, it's a privilege to be invited to these events and to give back to the fitness community. It's been years and years of me going to these events, and then to be able to sit on panels and give back. It's really, really nice to be able to do.
Yeah, I love that. I was interested for you to start, perhaps just giving us a little bit of background on World Gym for people that perhaps have seen the brand but don't really know too much about it. How did it start? Where's it from?
Yeah, so World Gym is out of America. So first was founded in California over in the USA by Joe Gold. I'm sure you would have seen Gold's Gym and the singlets and all the bodybuilding. If you've ever been into bodybuilding back in the day, it's still a
Yep.
classic. So we were founded in 1976. And then obviously we are now in many, many countries around the world, like Mexico, Taiwan, Australia, of course. So yeah, it's been phenomenal growth. This year, actually, we're celebrating World Gym International, like as a whole, turning 50. So that's an incredible milestone. And just imagine the legacy that obviously World Gym's created through there. And we just recently moved offices, but in our old office, we had this timeline from 1976 with, all these pictures of Joe Gold and all the bodybuilders up on the stairs, and then the whole way through to when our franchisors, John and Mike, brought it to Australia in 2018, 2019. So yeah, it's been an incredible journey for the whole
It's
brand.
such a good legacy, and a good sort of story to share with staff. If they're out
Mhm.
interviewing at different brands, it's nice to
Yeah.
have, I guess, a little bit of a timeline of how it sort of started. I saw you guys get an award at Oz Active the other night. I want to say the Member Love Award. What's the Member Love Award? Why? How do you
Oh,
get that?
well, the Member Love Award is, I personally think, the best award you can win. Obviously there's incredible awards, and Oz Active did a wonderful event and a wonderful evening. So definitely huge credit to Oz Active. But the Member Love Award is just exactly what it says. It's just like members who love us. So it's actually a really cool award to win, because it's not just obviously when you go for these awards, you've got like all these questions to answer, and there's all these paragraphs that you have to fill out. So it's not only to do with the content of that you put in for the award, but it's
Mhm.
also 10,000 feet contributes data into the award as well. So like it obviously takes in consideration like your Facebook reviews, your Google My Business reviews, and things like that. So it's not just how well can you fluff yourself up, it's actually like on the solid data and people, our members,
Yeah.
actually writing responses and being engaged in our community. So yeah, it was fantastic. And it was a four-peat for us. So pretty much call us the Panthers, because it was the fourth time we took that trophy home.
I love the rugby league analogy. I know
Yeah.
there's different awards you can win in rugby league, for example, but I love the ones where the people vote for
Mm-hmm.
their favorite player, and the same with the fitness industry. So
Yeah.
congratulations. That's the award I would love to win one day for my own gym. It's massive achievement.
Yeah, and,
So
and I
good.
think that's the best thing about the Oz Active Awards, is that it really does service and has something for everyone in those awards. You've got from Yoga Instructor of the Year, Reformer, Pilates Instructor of the Year, all the way through to Franchise Group of the Year, Big Box Franchise Group. Like, it's just everything, Aqua Aerobics
Mhm.
Instructor to Personal Trainer of the Year. So it really covers our sector quite well, because obviously there's other events in our industry and our sector and franchising that maybe only service to the top, but from the top sort of, but this one just goes across all. So yeah, it's really, 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 really cool to do. And if I can advise anyone, definitely put it on your goals board. Like, go back through the Oz Active Award and have a look at what you want to achieve, and then
Mm.
lock into it, get them into it and go, okay, this is what I'm going to do, put it on your vision board and work towards it. Because it's an awesome opportunity. And not only to win it, but also to be recognized or listed in top 5, 10 is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great achievement. I'm bringing you back to like World Gym. Can you tell us a bit more about the model? Like, what do the gyms look like? What are the services you guys provide?
Yeah, so we are a full service big box style. We actually have two styles, to be honest. We have the legacy model, which is a little bit smaller than our stock standard. So usually legacy is around 1,000 square meters. So if you're in Sydney or you want to go have a little nosy, you could go have a look at some of our wonderful clubs like Gregory Hills or Macquarie Park. They're wonderful gyms, obviously, and the typical like World Gym Legacy style club would have, of course, our wonderful barbell cafe and the retail store. Then you would go through to what we pride ourselves on, which is like our strength and like the main gym floor area. Obviously, we've got cardio and stuff as well there. Then you would go through to like a bit of a functional area, and then sometimes they have a little bit of recovery there as well. So that's like the legacy model. Usually
Yep.
in a world gym, we're big box. So we go for like 2, 3, 4,000 square meters.
Wow.
So we do take a lot of real estate up, and that would be the full service model right there. So you would obviously come through, you would see Barbell Cafe, the pro shop, obviously all the retail, the merch, all that sort of stuff. Then you would go through to, again, like the cardio floor or the weights floor, depending on how it's set up. There'd probably be childcare on the side as well, which is fantastic. And we have really big childcare hours as well. So it's not your, typical 9 to 11 just for mums, to bring their bubs. It's we do like early morning childcare, like some open back up in the afternoon, Saturday morning. So yeah, we obviously service a big range there. And then obviously we've got like a big functional sort of hybrid training area as well. Some of our clubs obviously carry recovery. So, and again, that's all different models depending on the gym, the size, the space, the demographic. We also have
Yep.
lady only areas. So sometimes lady only area is, really like quite private and it's, 100% no one else can see in. Whereas
Yep.
others are just a little bit more like with privacy and a few plants and things like that, which keeps it really nice. Sometimes we have like comfort corners as well. So, obviously it's a little bit more just a more inviting space for like that new to exercise or return to exercise, or someone that's just building their confidence in the gym as well, because it's more like pin load base or just like smaller dumbbells. So the recovery, and then we've also got we've obviously been putting in reformer studios as well, and then we've also got hybrid training areas. So yeah, we got it
Damn.
all. Yeah, we've also got like powerlifting areas and things like that as well. So
I've got so many questions.
yeah.
Tell me about childcare, because I know a few people on the call today and watching the recording later have probably thought about it, and I imagine there's kind of challenges with like
Yeah.
having staff to sort of be there. But I remember at one point Fitness First kind of pulled all their childcare, and it must have created sort of opportunities for other brands. That seems to be something you guys have doubled down on. Like you've got longer hours than most as well.
Yeah, I've seen childcare not work in other brands, and I really think it comes down just to your demographic and is the demand there. And I think
Yep.
you've really got to do the research to check, is this going to work in this area? Like
Yep.
if I'm about to open a club, maybe right in the CBD or in a really like, young professional area, maybe I wouldn't put childcare, but if I'm opening up in the suburbs and looking at my demographic, whether it's through gap maps or whatever it might be, I think that's going to really help me forecast what I want. Obviously, the difference here as well, and again, I've seen this across multiple brands because I used to also work in the boutique space in the 24-hour sector as well, as our childcare is a purpose-built childcare facility. So we're talking baby change tables, separate toilet, microwave, we've got a little sink in there to do formula up or whatever you need, right? We've got all
Yep.
like the little babies area, then we've got the big kids area, we've got a couch so the kids can sit there and watch their iPads. We're doing crafts every day, these sorts of things. So it's a purpose-built area, where what I've seen in other brands is just someone going, oh, I want my kid to be looked after, and listening to the noisy minority and getting one of those pens to go out in the gym
Yeah.
area.
As an afterthought, sort of.
Yeah, and I think that's where I've seen it doesn't work. Whereas
Yep.
when we have it and we launch it from day one, you obviously have to just pay a few more dollars on top of your membership as well. Obviously, it's different depending on club and things like that. And then obviously we have staff that are purely employed to work in the childcare sector there. So there's none of the
Yes.
hybrid sort of, oh, I'll watch reception, Steve, can you watch this kid while I'm just trying to coach sort of thing like
Yes.
that. It is they go in there, they sign in, we have a nut policy, all these sorts of things. So, and we're not childcare as in like under the kindergarten sector or anything like that,
Hmm.
but it's very like well done. Yeah, so that would be
Yeah.
my advice. Just don't listen to the noisy minority, and if you're going to do it, make sure that there's a true demand for it.
And you were saying prior to sort of going live on the call, you've got two young girls.
Yeah.
For someone like yourself, if you're a member of Worlds, you take your girls into the gym. Is it like you're just paying a few dollars a week or something on top of your like normal membership?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we've obviously got it working at a fine art now. So obviously you would normally just sign up to the gym as you would, you choose your membership that's going to best work for you. And then on top of that, we've got like a booking system. So I might go in and book. Obviously, it depends if you've got 1, 2, 3, or plus 3 kids. And then you just pay a few dollars extra a week or per child. And then you just book in. And then, yeah, I just go and drop the kids off and then obviously go and train. And I think it's a really nice thing to do. It obviously brings in that family element to the World Gym as well, because we do have these beautiful communities where the mums are coming in with the bubs, or the dads are coming in with the prams and things like that. They're dropping the baby and the child off, or even in school holidays, and then they go and train. And I know some mums will go and do like a bit of a wellness session. They'll drop bub off and then they'll go and
Just
do
a
their
timeout.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then they go into the bathroom, have a sauna, straighten their hair, have a shower, straighten their hair, and then they just come out feeling like a new woman. And I
Yeah.
just think
And dads, I used to do that
that's
at Virgin Active. They had a creche.
yeah.
I'd go and read the paper and have a coffee before I picked up the kids.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
was a big sort of attraction factor. I think that it wasn't
Yeah.
like an inconvenience, but it was included.
Mm.
You mentioned as well that some of the bigger clubs might have something like reformer Pilates. Am I
Mm.
imagining like an instructor out the front, or is this kind of like where they are self-led? How does the reformer work for you guys?
Yeah, so as we know, reformer is massive. Pilates grew 60% last year in our sector, and the fastest growing boutique sector is reformer. And that's crazy because that's overtaking your hybrid, your yards, your BFTs, your everything else in between. So it's massive. So for us, it was just a no-brainer to bring it in-house. Obviously, we have the real estate space for it as well, if it can work in some capacity. And obviously, there's the high yield opportunity. So as for our franchisors, it's a really smart move, and because the demand is there as well. So usually in a World Gym, they have it's like in a completely separate room, and then obviously
Yep.
we renovate the room to make it look and feel like a boutique reformer studio, because that's
Hmm.
what our members are expecting and the consumers expecting. And then, in my opinion, the best way to run it is to have obviously your stacked timetable. So you might have your 3 classes in the morning, like 6, 7, 8, or 5, 6, 7, whatever it might be, and then maybe you'd have like 1 or 2 or 3 in the afternoon, depending again on your demographic, your demand, how many reformer beds you have. I think the best way to do it is to have like hire your reformer instructors and make sure that they're teaching like blocks. I think it just creates a better I think it just creates a better community and a better environment, and your members that are paying that little bit more, they're expecting to see that regular instructor. So yeah, that works really, really well. Some of our clubs also have the Your Reformer with the TV as well. So
Yes. Yep.
yeah, and that works quite well in some of our clubs, because yes, they still do pay instructors and they still have like the human-led class. But if there's someone that's maybe on a bit of a different timetable, or wants to come on a random Sunday afternoon or whatever it might be, we can still service and cater for that. So that's
Yeah.
quite popular, and we're seeing that creep in a little bit more.
So I
Um,
could go in on a Sunday, even if there's not a class scheduled, and I can jump on a reformer bed and hit a TV or something to lead me through a session.
Yep, definitely.
Yep.
And we even see in some of our clubs, we've got one or two reformer beds out like on the gym floor and like a bit of a stretch sort of ab zone or a bit of a quieter area as well. Because yes, I might do a class and a human led class, but then on, Tuesday at 11 a.m., I might want to come in and just do a little 30-minute circuit on the bed or whatever it might be. So yeah, it's good. It's really good.
There's a lot of moving parts. I guess I was sort of visualizing. I've been to World Gym on the Northern Beaches,
Mm-hmm.
like Brookvale. I've been to World Gym on
Yeah.
the Gold Coast, like in Burleigh Heads, I want to say, somewhere
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
And they are a little bit different. So I imagine as someone adds an additional service, you're looking for someone that has the skills, perhaps to sort of manage a couple of different things at the same time.
Yeah, I think when you decide to put something like Reformer into your club, you just need to make sure that you've done all the research, it's ready to go, obviously the timeline. And I think the biggest thing is just making sure that you're communicating with your members. And I don't mean just putting one little poster up at reception saying Reformer coming soon. Like you've really got to like launch it. You've got to engage them. You've got to bring your members with that journey. And we
Hmm.
see this a lot on the recovery side as well, because a lot of our clubs are starting to put bigger and better recovery. And, I'm talking, more than just a sauna in the bathroom. So, I think the best thing to do and what we've seen in our community is, they go, okay, guys, this part of the gym's not really working. So what we're going to do is we're going to do recovery. And they start to launch it. They, send out surveys. What would you like to see in recovery? They really like bring these members for the journey. Then they start to almost pre-sale it as well. So
Yeah.
you might have, I don't know, 500 members in your gym, which is great. So then now you can say, okay, guys, like let's get this, pre-sale for this, start becoming engaged. And, so when it launches, you're obviously already got these members on a high yield and they're all
Yes.
ready to go. And then also it's just a nice feel as well. So if it's like Reformer, for example, and you've already pre-sold X amount of Reformer memberships, when you go and teach your first class, there's, all the beds, all 15 or 12 or 10 or whatever beds are booked out. So it's a really nice feel
Hmm.
already, so compared to having one or two people.
That's such a gold nugget. I remember at the Oz Fitness Expo, a few people having frustrations in their own brands where they sort of communicated that maybe they added on a recovery section or they added on a reformer and it didn't sort of kick off too well and they didn't sort of have that success. But I think it's important to sort of manage expectations or the gym owners on the call that it does require. It is like a new product or a new service. And like any industry, you've got to actually bring some awareness around it. It's probably time to train up staff or recruit new
Yeah.
people with that particular skill. Like the childcare example, where you don't just put like the little pen around it, but you actually, if you're going to do it properly.
Yeah,
Mm.
and make sure that you're ready to do it. So I think my biggest advice would to a club manager or a franchisee or an independent operator is make sure that you're ready to switch your focus and be able to focus on it, because it does take a lot of time, right? It's like renovating your house and your bathroom or something. It takes your focus from life. So
Mm.
just make sure that you've got a great assistant manager, whoever it might be, to keep leading the ship, because a lot of your energy is going to go into doing this reformer studio or whatever it is, and just pre-planning it, looking at the costing that you want, sending out surveys as it's getting built, get people to have a sneak peek, really launch it with like a morning, invite people down, whether it's a mum and bubs group or, the local boys footy team to come and try a reformer. Like we've all seen those funny little videos of, these bulked up rugby dudes
Guys
trying to do,
struggling. That was
trying
me,
to
I'm
do
sure.
Pilates. Yeah, but you know what I mean? That's going to bring energy and hype. Obviously, you're going to launch on social media. You're going to make sure that your reception staff are engaged with your members, saying, oh, hey, Steve, did you know we're opening recovery next week? Do you want me to book you in for a trial session? Hey, Hilarie, next week, Tuesday, I know you're always coming at 9 a.m. Do you want me to try and shortlist you on this class? Like you've got to be very engaged with it and communicate to our members, because if you just slap a poster up on the wall, like we all know members don't read posters. So, well, not all members, maybe some.
Yeah, very, very few. I sometimes find that when I'm advertising Christmas parties or something like
Yeah.
that, you'll be in the week before the event and you're like, oh, you're
Mhm.
coming Friday night? And they're like, to what? What?
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
no.
I know, and you've put posts everywhere, and you've sent an email, but yeah, and I think you've just got to hit every your members from all sides. You've got to do the email, you've got to make a funny video, you've got to do a generic post, you've got to let them walk through the room. You've got to put a big poster up on the board saying, "Hey, we're coming soon."
Hmm.
Yeah, you've got to get people in there. The biggest thing is just getting people in there.
Tell me about the cafes. If a World Gym has a cafe, do they sort of outsource that to a local cafe company? Do they do it internally? What's the preferred model?
Yeah, we do it all internally. So we have the yes, we have the Barbell Cafe. So they're all slightly different, but the stock standard is that we have obviously all the protein shakes and protein bars and supplements and bits and pieces like that. Obviously, we stock all the, fitness meals, whether it's My Muscle Chef, Papa Macros, whatever it might be. We stock all them as well. So yeah, it's really,
Yep.
really great. It's nice to be able to give back to our members like that. It's obviously a big convenience factor as well.
Yep.
That obviously helps them with their training. So yeah, it's wonderful to have the retail section there.
Pricing wise, what does someone pay? You said the model varies a little bit from maybe 1,000 square meters
Mhm.
to a larger facility that might have a few more things on. But what's the sort of range that someone would pay to be a member?
Yeah, it's definitely a range due to the service offering, and like you said, they're all slightly different. Not only in square meterage, but also in the service that they offer. Whether it's like whether you would like and it suits you to have reformer or recovery or hybrid training or whatever it might be included in your membership. So
Yep.
it depends. Obviously, if the club is brand new, we pre-sale on a lower rate, which would be in like the high teens, ticking over to the low 20s.
Yep.
And then from there, we usually sit around like the 28.95-ish mark for
Yep.
stock standard sort of membership. And then we
Yep.
go north of that depending on, obviously like club access, experience, group fitness, everything else that's included in the membership. Obviously, some memberships have it all. Obviously they're all 24-hour, but yes, some are up past like this 50, 60, $70 a week membership. So it just really just depends. Like, so my advice would be to just inquire to your local website.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a gym tart. I like to go and buy memberships everywhere.
Yeah.
And I've recently signed up to another fitness franchise near my home.
Mhm.
And it's kind of priced the same, but it doesn't have any of those. It doesn't have any classes. It doesn't have any recovery or anything like that. So it feels like it's priced at a pretty sort of enticing bracket. Like, can you
Yeah.
share like who comes to a World Gym? Well, who's your target audience if you're out looking for 100 new members for a particular site?
Yeah, so it does vary like across each demographic and that sort of thing. We do service a very wide range of people. We're obviously a big box. We have a lot of different sort of areas, like I mentioned before. A lot of different machines and things like that, and brands. We carry a lot of like brands. So our target market is really broad. We probably look between 16 to 65, like when we're
Yep.
targeting. If we had to really narrow it in, I would say that we're looking towards like 21 to 50. And again,
Yep.
like I know that's a massive target, and people will assume, oh, we're just, we target every single person, but we can't be everything to everyone either. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
we don't also want to be. Yes, we service a big range, but we won't be for everybody. If I'm training for a hardcore powerlifting comp, yeah, I probably will still have a World Gym membership, but I'm probably going to spend more of my time in a powerlifting gym. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yep.
we can't be everything to everyone, but we do service a lot of people. Yeah.
The World Gym I went to on the Northern Beaches had a lot of very cool toys, a lot of good lifting equipment.
Yeah.
It's not your average sort of franchise fit out. I noticed like there was, I want to say 20 leg exercises or something from
Yeah.
like the most tiny little calf isolation all the way through to different like angled squats and things. Is that something that you find tends to attract people? Is that something that sort of wins over some people from maybe your competitor?
Yeah, 100%. Like, we really pride ourselves on having like the best gear. We make sure that, we obviously are working with the top suppliers and, really seeing what's on trend and making sure what's coming through and landing on the gym floor is what the member wants, what's, in demand. And, obviously strength training, as we know, is on the rise. There's no denying it. It's coming back in fashion. Obviously treadmills are staying still, the Stairmaster's climbing. Strength training, like, it's here to stay, and
Yes.
our gym floor has always, if when you look back at all over the years from when we first opened in Penrith, we've kept very, very much to the same square meterage on like the gym floor section, like your plate loaded sort of equipment there. We are for like the serious trainer. The World Gym is for the serious trainer. Yes, you can join when you're new to exercise or return to exercise, but we definitely do capture a little bit more of the market that is a little bit more confident in the gym. You don't have to be an expert, but they probably are a little bit more of a confident member, and I think that's a good thing. Like when you train at a World Gym, people, I think there's this element of interpretation, or you have to be really fit or a bodybuilder, but you don't. A majority of our members are not bodybuilders. They're just people that love health and fitness and training hard. And when you come into a World Gym, I think that's the best thing about it, is the vibes are really high. Everybody's training, everybody's there to achieve goals and to chat and to be really friendly. So that's, hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, they're definitely impressive when you go in, like if you do a trial or I noticed as well, I think I knew one of the guys at World Gym on the Northern Beaches, but he was saying you get like a bunch of people that will drive like an hour on a Saturday to go and do a casual visit as well, because it's just cool. It's got a lot of, you
100%.
could do a different workout than you do at your normal gym. So yeah,
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
So we've spoken about demographic, what they sort of pay to come in and be members. I'm conscious that I've been hogging the microphone a little bit. Victor, Nicole, Jody, Chrissy, if you have any questions, go into the chat for me and I'll make sure to send them across to Hilarie as well. Make sure I've got the chat open. Otherwise, I will hog the microphone, as I've got about 1,000 questions I want to ask you today.
All right, let's go rapid fire to get through the 1,000.
What are three things or a few things that maybe separate the top performing gyms? So in any franchise I've spoken to, there's some facility owners that do better than others. And I understand that it could be some benefit of the demographic or, their lack of competition or something like that. But it's often more to do with like the owners. Can you put your finger on it? Because you get to see lots of them.
Yeah, I agree. And I've seen this across a few brands. So yeah, the things you mentioned, obviously location's a big one, all these other things are contributing factors, but to really like move the dial, it really comes down to the operator, to the owner operator and the franchisee. I think at the end of the day, the franchisee or the owner is responsible. Like the buck stops with them, right? They're the ones with their name on the franchise agreement or their name on the lease. So they have to take some sort of responsibility to drive the team. Obviously, if there's a few things that I would say, make sure that you're really hands-on with your business, especially if your business isn't where you want it to be. I think you've got to go in there, you've got to be hands-on with your business, you've got to see what's not working, you've got to get rid of the bad apples, and you've got to just drill in there and just see, okay, what's working and what's not. I think once you've done that, you just need to shortlist a couple of things, because you can't do it all in one day, right? Like you can't just turn your whole business around in 30 days. So, pick maybe 2 or 3 that are really going to change the dial and drill into that. And to be honest, if your club's underperforming, it's usually underperforming because of sales. So sales, like I always say, fixes everything because if you sell memberships, it helps cash flow. If you sell memberships, it helps your gym floor vibes, energy, class bookings, whatever it might be. Sales fixes everything. So if I don't know anyone's business without looking at it, but sometimes if you can just work on sales, and I saw this really, really clearly probably when I was in the boutique sector, is if you sell memberships, it'll fix a lot of problems. The second thing is just to drill into the 1% that you see and make sure that your staff culture is fantastic. Like if you're the franchisee or the owner operator or the manager or the biggest face the facing shareholder, you need to make sure that your staff are everything. As we know, your staff are your biggest liability. So you need to you need to encourage the ones that aren't contributing to the staff culture that you want out the door, and you need to make sure that you drill into that, hire some good people, build a really good team, make sure you educate them. Education is number one. Like, your staff are only as good as you train them, so make sure that you invest in education, mentoring for them, buddying them, putting them on courses, whatever it might be, because you're not only benefiting your own business, but you're essentially buying loyalty from your staff as well. Like, if I'm a new staff member and someone, pays for education for me, puts me on a barbell course, whatever it might be, I'm going to be super invested with you, right? I'm going to want to
Yeah.
get back. I'm going to want to, really change the dial. I'm going to go and put this fantastic kettlebell class on, whatever it might be. So make sure that your staff are cohesive, and just good communication. Like, just make sure you communicate with your staff well. Make sure you lead from what's the saying? Lead from behind is the best leader, not from the front. I don't know. There's two ways, depends how if you want to go down that leadership path. But I think you just got to make sure that your staff are really good, because the clubs that I see that are top operators, their staff churn is very minimal. We're not in the highest paying industry. We're in a very passionate industry though. So you need to make sure you hire good people, train them well, and look after them. Pay a little bit slightly above award if you can afford it, and really invest in your staff. That would be the biggest thing. And obviously the basics, make sure you're staying relevant, make sure your club's clean, make sure you're saying hi to members. There's so many times that I've been into gyms, and I'm speaking across all brands that I've worked for, where reception don't even say hi to members. They just, I remember back in the day when I was working in the 24-hour sector, and I started to go and manage this club. It was underperforming. And the first time I was there, I whipped open the door and I slid open the glass and I said, "Morning, morning." And then one guy said to me, "Oh my God, I've never been said good morning to ever." He said, "You frightened me. You frightened me." I said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I said, "What are you training today?" And he said, "Oh, and they've never spoken to me before." And I just think that's so sad. But we see it, right? We just don't see people greeting. And I just think that's a massive missed opportunity. So that would be my top, I don't know, what's that, 10 things.
It's so refreshing to hear that. I guess, like, for myself, who's got a boutique studio, I think the perception, like we said before, that you go into a world gym and there are some really nice pieces of equipment and a lot of variety. But as soon as I asked you what separates the top performers to the other performers, it wasn't that someone had an extra leg press or something. It all came down to people saying hello, cleanliness, and
Number one. Yeah.
yeah. And the big part around training, I definitely think it can feel like a little bit of a chore, and it's like, oh, I've got all these other things, like you're putting out spot fires in small business, and you do have to do the 1%ers, like you said, where there's a member that's a real cancer and you might have to ask them to leave, or there might be a staff member that you have to sort of coach out, but they don't happen all the time. The ones that I think should happen all the time are organising something for your team so that they're actually learning. And the example you gave, whether you give them like a kettlebell or a powerlifting course or something, I could see them just eating that up, because that's why they get in the industry. They want to keep growing, and it's not just what they did at uni or what they did in Cert 4. They're like, what am I doing this year and that keeps them hanging around.
100%. You just have to invest in your staff. Like, they can be your biggest asset or your biggest liability. And I think at the end of the day, what I see with business owners is so many business owners spend so much time putting out little spot fires, which like could be prevented. I'm not saying all could be, but a lot could be prevented if you had good staff, a good manager or a good assistant manager, or just someone leading the team. Because I don't know everybody's company structure, just to lead the charge and do the day-to-day operations. Because if you've got someone who's driving that ship, then you as the business owner will have time to be able to work on your business instead of in your business, because that's where a lot of time gets sucked up, like in the weeds, but it's not actually always moving the dial. Do you know what I mean? So, and just make sure you've got good SOPs in place, good playbooks in place, make sure everybody's realigned, staff meetings, all these sorts of things. And service, like service is number one. It goes across any industry, whether you're checking into a hotel, going out for dinner, service and people are number one, because without members, we ain't got nothing. And second of all, people want to feel important. They want to feel, excited. How good is a smile? Like, you could be the only person in that person's day that smiles at that person. It sounds so sad, but it's so
Well, yeah, there are a lot more people working from home after COVID, a lot more people in cubicle type roles because of AI and sort of technology type roles. So it can be their little opportunity to plug back into humans in the afternoon or something when they go to the gym.
Definitely. And people who have those, I think we, as an industry, we just undervalue how important that conversation is when people come into the gym. So, there's a big difference between, hey, Steve, how are you going? Well, I'm still typing at my reception desk, to, hey, Steve, how are you? What are you training today? How are you feeling? Because not only what that's doing is building a relationship with your member, it's also, a segue for referrals. It's also a segue for on-sale. It's also a referral to book personal training. It's also, a way to, you go, oh, I'm training legs, mate, but I'm just not losing any weight or whatever it might be. And you go, hey, why don't you join our 8-week challenge or whatever it might be? Like, that's, so yeah, there's just so much opportunity in conversation.
Yeah. It's definitely one of the things I see when I go out to different brands is a real different level of enthusiasm and investment into like sales and then service down here.
Yeah.
And I think like the best ones I go into, they kind of like intertwine really on level. I think it's embarrassing when a company goes over the top and they're super helpful, so much so that they'll call you 20 times if they want the sale. But then you become a member and they don't even say hello when you walk in the door. Like that's too big a gap for me. And I think, as you said, if you can actually just have the service matching the sales in terms of enthusiasm and consistency, a lot of the sales looks after itself because people enjoy coming. So retention happens, or people enjoy coming, so they bring their friends. You mentioned one of the key ones. You said there's 1%ers, but you said a franchise owner that has an interest in experience in has a bit of a focus around sales will do particularly well. I think that's often a gap I see. If someone's like an investor, they've come out of corporate, they're like, I want to do fitness, it'll be a lifestyle business. If they don't know how to sell themselves, often I see that sort of weakness in the team. I personally don't sort of jump in and do all the sales every week, but I definitely want everyone that's in a sales role to feel trained and feel supported sort of in that role. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that there is a big sort of that's a skill set in the top performing franchises.
You're right. If you're right, like if you're the franchisee or the owner or whatever it might be, you don't have to do sales day in and day out, but I think it's important to have a handle on your sales. So whatever platform that you use, it's really important that, you understand the platform, you've been coached through the platform, you know it, because when you get sent your end of day report or whether you want to set KPIs for your sales team, at least you know what they should be looking for. Because if you don't understand it, how do you relay that message, and how do you know what the expectation is for your staff? Do you know what I mean? So it's important that you just break it down, know it yourself, get on the call, know that what script they're saying or whatever it might be. Because if you just let them run, then it's just so critical. That's all.
I think it's just so easy to be a manager and owner and have unrealistic expectations if you've never done it before. If you haven't actually been on the phone recently and called a Facebook inquiry or presented the prices or something, it can I think your staff notice. They notice that you're a bit dated with that idea, or that's probably not that relevant for what we're talking about here. So, so many cool questions for you.
Victor's got a question for us, Steve.
Let's go to Victor.
I saw it.
You said sales is probably a big fix for most businesses. Is there any resources, training, or courses, anything related to improving sales training for the teams that you've done or recommend?
Me personally, Steve, you can go first if you like. Have you got a goal for us?
Yeah, there's definitely some training, Victor, as part of the Gym Hub program. So there's sales modules. I know you haven't had an opportunity to look at yet, but you'll see them like Sales 1, Sales 2. Essentially what we do is we build them in chronological order. So what I mean by that is we think about the first step of the sales process, whether that's answering a phone call, responding to an email, or chat or something, and then we walk through. What do you say on the phone? What do you do in a tour? What do you do in a price presentation? And yeah, my encouragement is, like we mentioned before, if you personally haven't looked at what those steps are in your business, if you haven't come up with an SOP, like Hilarie said, like a standard operating procedure on how you like people to answer the phone, what it means is you rarely have staff that take that role for you. You end up kind of still doing a lot of the sales yourself. So I think it's a great question.
Yeah.
And I encourage you, definitely have a look at what's kind of available to you already, because you might find, we're pretty good at like a couple of pieces in the puzzle. Even like the data that you pull out of your fitness CRM will often tell you like, okay, we're good here, but there's this massive gap every week and every month. And that's where I generally encourage our Gym Hub members to invest their time is in that thing they need most, as opposed to listening to Joe Rogan in their spare time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What about for yourself?
Yeah, I completely agree with your answer 100%. And I think the biggest thing is that you do need to invest in getting some help with building out your sales process if you're starting from day one, scratch one, shall we say, because you might be an open club already that's looking to just turn that whole thing around, because the sales process isn't just, all right, cool, let's just call some leads, that'll be fine, we'll sort that out, they'll come and buy memberships. There's homes, as you said, there's so many steps to it, from what our ad looks like to the text message that's going out before we've even picked up the phone, the email that's going back out, all these sorts of things, to then, okay, what are we actually saying on the phone? When are we booking them in? Are we doing 2-choice price presentation? Like, there's all these things of that, and it's actually very complex to go through all of that, and it does take a lot of time. So to have someone guide you through that is worth its weight in gold, because to try and, like you said, pick through that and chat GPT and things like that, you just need to go where someone has done it before, because then when you've got them, okay, what do? You book them in for a tour, and then, obviously, what does that tour look like? Then you price present. What does the price presentation look like? So there's all these steps. And then not only that, there's like referrals and then aftercare for the member and booking them in and all the other bits and pieces that go with it. So it's just absolutely critical that you have someone guide you through it if you're starting from scratch, because there's so many bits, and your team will come up to speed a lot faster, and you will literally start selling better overnight if you have all these structures in place. Obviously there's other things as well, like practicing scripts and things as well.
Yeah, I think some of the most successful businesses that are franchised do so because they come up with that standard operating procedure. They come up with a step-by-step approach in how to do it. And I'm not someone that goes to McDonald's a lot, but I remember my son got a job at KFC, and I could go and pick him up from work when he was 15, and there would be 5 15-year-olds running a business that's doing $5 million turnover a year. And it's just based on it's not that complicated, a lot of these roles. If you can actually just show them at this step in the sales process, this is best practice. We would like you to say this and do this. What I was impressed with even brands like KFC, and you see it in. I went into Specsavers, and there was this full process, and I just thought that's kind of on us a bit as the owners and managers, just to make sure that we have the processes in place, and it's not usually a 20-minute conversation once in September, but instead it's finding someone that's interested in learning all the steps and investing into it, Victor, where you say, hey, every Monday at 11 o'clock, let's grab a coffee and let's just work on these steps, and we'll just work our way down the line. That's the type of ongoing sort of training I think that would sort of give you the best result.
Yeah, I agree. And you've just got to be around your sales team as well. What I say to franchisees is make sure you don't have to be on the front line of sales and calling hundreds of leads every day. But, if you just can pop into the sales room or whatever it might be, and just have a bit of a listen, or go, hey, speak to your sales manager, say, hey, what do you think we need to work on? And exactly what you said, drill into it. Because you might hear someone on the phone go, oh, that's okay, I don't feel like coming in today. No worries, okay, bye. And they hang up the phone. But the reality there is that obviously there's work to be done, right? They need to be offering alternatives and, using
Mm,
words and things like that. So you might go, oh, whoops, okay, let's pick up on that. And then next team meeting, we go, okay, guys, let's just drill this part of the script because this is where there's room for improvement. So
mm,
yeah, it's not a set and forget. It's constantly evolving, and it also, I think, sales evolves whether you're through your campaign, the time of year, how many leads you've got coming in, where are the leads coming from. Like, yeah, this could be a whole nother session here, Steve.
it definitely could. I guess, like, and to your point, whilst there are a lot of different pieces to the puzzle, it is a complete puzzle. These businesses, like successful world gyms and other gym owners that are on the call today, even often have a lot of these pieces that maybe you're looking for or that you need to, fix in your own business. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't necessarily have to sort of sit there doing trial and error for the next 12 months. If you can identify a piece missing, ask for help, and yeah, we'll definitely bring you up to speed so much faster than if you were just trying to work it all out,
Yeah,
by yourself.
100%. Couldn't agree
Good
more.
question, Victor. Hey, do you have any franchisees that own multiple locations? And if you do, like, how would you know that that's actually a good idea? And because I'm sure someone probably asks, and you're like, whoa, slow down, probably not the right fit, and then others just crush.
Yeah, 100%. I can speak to this across two brands that I've worked for. With World Gym, yeah, we've got some that are single site operators, and they're more than happy to be single site operators, and that's what they do because they've got other investments or business opportunities that they have. We have some that are, yeah, like got two or three, maybe heading towards four is probably the next group from that, and some are the same shareholder group, others are like sort of mixed in, and then our biggest franchisee is up around like the 7, 8, going for the ninth site. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it really does range. There's no right or wrong answer, but and we don't mind as a franchise, like as a franchisor, we don't mind. Like if you want one, that's fine. If you want two or three, that's fine. But it has to be, you have to almost prove yourself first. And I say that with the best intention. And it's not because we want to have the control, it's because we want to make sure that as we're acting as responsible franchisors and in the best faith with the business, and we need to make sure that you're ready to go, from having one baby to having two. So
Mm,
yeah, so we've got a few key things in place, and not only in World Gym, but I've also set this up in another brand as well, where we just make sure that we do a bit of a health check on the current business as it is. So say, Steve, you have one location, we just make sure that there's everything stacking up from like the economics to the P&L to your operational input to your current staff and structuring and management and things like that as well. If you come to me in the first, say 6 months ago and say, all right, Hilarie, I'm looking at doing a different site, or this site's going well, I want to do another site over here, I'll say, yeah, that's fine. And my advice to you would be, okay, great, start, making sure that you're pushing yourself out of the business, especially if you're really hands-on. It's different if you're a silent partner or more like not as hands-on, or maybe only spend 10% of the time in your business. But I would start growing yourself out of the business. And when I say that, I mean you need to start looking who's performing well in your current business with employed staff, or if you've got another shareholder that can step in and take your shoes. And then if you've got like a good manager, you need to make sure that they're trained up really, really well. If you don't, push your assistant manager to make sure that they're going to take some of the heat for you, because once you start turning your focus and make sure that your existing club is good, it's clean, everything's in place, do those little renovations, tidy up that hole in the wall, whatever it is. So when you turn your focus to your second baby, that
yeah.
they're really like, this club over here is cared for, everything's running smooth, everything's good, because it's going to take a whole lot of your time and attention. And
Mm,
just make sure, obviously, financially, you're not running it too thin as well, and just what sort of role you're going to play in that new site. And obviously, of course, it depends on shareholders and other people that are involved in the investment. But yeah, the best thing is to make sure that everything stacks up. You're ready. Yeah, you're ready to take it on. You're ready for that commitment, obviously, personally, and also financially and operationally as well, because opening a world gym is a big beast. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of energy, or any business really. It doesn't have to be a world gym. I've seen the same in the boutique sector as well. So yeah, you just need to make sure that you're ready and you're ready to take your focus off, and that it's going to go well, because not only will you find the site and you'll open it, but what are the next 6 months after opening look like for you as well? Because you're not going to be able to just turn around and go back to site number one. The next 6 months, you're going to have to be focusing on your new baby and nursing it, looking after it, changing its nappy, all these sorts of things, until you can start to then balance the two and have that cluster manager approach, or whether it's the 3 and 4, whatever it might be. And if you are looking at that 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it might be location, you need to make sure that you're starting to bring almost like your own little mini head office in, because
area manager type
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
Because you as the franchisor or the owner operator, that it's hard work and you can't do it all. So you need to make sure that you stay in your circle of excellence and you hire for the support you need, whether it's getting someone to help with accounts, or an area manager, or someone to look after cancellations and customer care, or whatever is sucking up most of your time. Yeah.
I love that careful consideration. I think from the outside, it's easy to see a brand sort of exploding and there's different sites opening. But I think, it is easy to forget to use your analogy, the pain of childbirth. Like a friend of mine just opened a second gym and he was like, oh, I just totally forgot how many hours and how much it cost and just how fucking full on it was. Because it had been running for 10 years and it was such a different lifestyle after 10 years. So he's definitely back in the trenches and that a little bit now. Tell me about marketing for World Gym. What's an example of like a campaign or a promo or something you found to be quite good for attracting like a World Gym sort of clientele?
Yeah, definitely. So I think free time is always a great one. I see it across a lot of different brands. I think whether it's 30 days for free, obviously coming into the festive season, pay nothing until the new year. I think every brand under the sun does that, but it's because it actually works, So I think that free time, I think that's got a lot of value for the consumer, because they think, oh, this is great. I don't have to pay anything until next pay cycle, or until, mid-October, or whatever it might be. So, that sounds quite attractive. The other one I would say is, obviously we see it a lot more in like the boutique sort of sector, but that 5 for 5 or 10 for 10, or whether it's 5 for 5 as in 5 sessions for $5 or whatever it might be, depending on what business you have, or 5 for 5, whether it's $5 for 5 weeks, or 10 for 10, or 5 or half price for 10 weeks or something like that. I think the only thing that's what works well, and I've seen work well, obviously in the big box and the boutique side. I think just keep in mind, if you are going to be quite generous with your offer, and I'd probably even use the word aggressive in your offer, is don't undercut yourself. Like, just make sure you still hold your value, because anyone can drop their pants and give 90 days for free. But the reality is that going to get used and abused? What's your member churn going to look like after that? Are you ready to onboard all these members? Because it's a lot of aftercare as well. So make sure that you're ready and prepared, because that's a whole lot of leads that are going to come in as well. So not only are we prepared to sell, but are we prepared to call all the leads that are coming in, so they're not going to sit there and be cold. What does that look like after, booking PT sessions, doing, service calls and things like that. So if you do it, just make sure that you're not undercutting yourself and just throwing everything at it, because also I think when you do that, sometimes, people just join on price, and those people are more likely to leave. So don't be afraid to charge a joining fee. Don't be afraid to charge a key tag fee or whatever fee you have, because we just need to hold our value in the industry. You can hear I'm quite passionate about that.
Yeah, I am as well. I'm always curious to see what's working for different brands, and I think what I take away from that is that it has to be something compelling. There's just so many different options for fitness at the moment, and if you go out to somewhere really competitive like Instagram and you're like, come in for a free trial, it doesn't really resonate. It doesn't get people to stop in their feed and sort of consider the rest of your posts. So I like that it's a good offer. I like that it's paid, and if you are giving them 30 days free, they're generally signed up or something already. So it's like a bonus if they invest and they sort of come in
Yeah.
You mentioned that prior to sort of logging in, that Google ads have been something that's been sort of popular. So you'll get it like an offer, like 30 days free. You'll potentially advertise that on Google. Is that something? Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, we advertise across all social media platforms, but yeah, we have a lot of success with Google Ads.
Yep.
Obviously, we have got a really high, good star on Google My Business as well. We spend a
Okay.
lot of time in Google My Business, and I encourage our franchisees to make sure that photos are up to date. People are encouraged to do reviews. You
Yep.
go and then you actually add your phone number or whatever it might be. Because so many times I see, restaurants and things where things and links don't work, and it frustrates me. So I always
Yes.
say, make sure you go in there and tend to it and have it on your quarterly cycle, whatever it is, to go in there and tidy it up. Have nice photos, make sure you update your address, whatever it is. Yeah, but we do see a lot of success on Google Ads as well. I think a lot of people trust Google Ads.
Yeah, I think if I grab a couple of things off Instagram this week and I update my Google My Business account, I think organically when someone searches gym near me, we sort of come up there somewhere. But
Yeah,
it's like it's prime time for people to be joining gyms right now. So
yeah,
putting a bit of a budget on it makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
That was informative. Oh, great feedback, Nicole. Thank you very much. She said she's got to get back on the tools. I am conscious of your time. You have been fantastic, very generous to sharing everything about your experience in the fitness industry. I wondered if I can ask you one question to finish. What is one thing you know now in business that you wish you knew when you started?
Numbers are everything, and the data doesn't lie. And if numbers aren't your thing, make sure that you get someone to help you with the numbers, invest in a mentor or someone to help you guide you through the numbers so you know what you're looking for. Like if I go back to when I first had my business at 21, God, I didn't even know what a P&L was. I didn't even manage cash flow. I didn't give it. I just, as long as money was coming in, there was cash in the till, and FOS was ticking over every night, I was good to go. But can you imagine? I learned very fast, don't worry. But the moral of my story is, once I started tracking it and looking at it and realized that maybe that wasn't my strong suit, that's okay.
Yeah.
I went in and I invested in an accountant, and I got this lady to help me, and that, and not, yeah. And what I see most in the franchising world is, we've got all these platforms that can do it for us. So just make sure that you invest the time to go in and drill into it, because anyone can just look at the screen and go, oh, that
Yes.
looks all right. I think there's some green here and there's some buckets over here and some graphs over here.
Yes.
But to actually understand it, be able to pull threads and be able to unpick it is absolutely vital. So that would be my number. Yeah, that would be my
Yeah.
one that I wish I knew when I was
I love it.
21.
I was the same, I think, just because like we're probably people oriented. That's maybe why we're drawn to like a service based industry. So it's probably a relatively normal kind of
Yeah,
you come in for the people and you love being
yeah,
in classes or whatever. But it's there's, as you've sort of said it before, there's so many different areas of running a successful fitness business. I think the way I love data now, not only is there more of it, but
yeah.
it's more accurate and it just
Mhm,
helps you to drill down. Like Victor, if he's wondering which area of
mhm.
my sales process should I focus time on, the data
Yeah,
helps him to do that rather than
done,
just broad
100%.
broad strokes.
The data doesn't lie as long as you input it correctly. And I see all
Yes.
the time people going, like the biggest example we have at the moment is group fitness, right? So, and
Yes.
I'm talking like you're not like your yards and your BFTs and your fit stops and things like that, but more like your big box group fitness, because obviously that's more what I work in every day. But the biggest thing I see is people go, oh, I can't move group fitness, or I can't change group fitness because I'll have these 25 people that are upset. But the reality is, when you go in and look at the data and how many people are coming through your door between 4 and 5 or 5 and 6 or whatever it might be, the reality is it's such a small percentage. So,
Yeah.
and what these other people are doing. So just make sure you look at the data and use the data that's available to you. And again, if you don't know how to extract it out, it's okay. The company will know, or someone will be able to help you, and just invest in that, because it'll help it will help you make good decisions that aren't in the grey to move your business forward.
That is priceless, Hillary. You have done an amazing job. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, it's been so much fun. I love it. I can keep going another
It
hour.
went really quick, but I cannot keep you here all day. I know you've got other mountains to climb.
Yeah,
Yeah,
email
you've been
file.
amazing. I will get you the recording. There's just so much gold. I've literally got 2 pages of notes here.
Oh,
Um,
good.
I thank you so much, and yeah, I hope heading into summer things just continue to thrive for World Gym, and I hope you guys keep kicking goals and winning awards.
Oh, you too, Stephen, for Gym Hub too. And, it's incredible what you do for the industry. So thank you. And thanks giving back to the industry and, really moving our industry forward and helping business owners. It's absolutely priceless. So thank you very much. And thanks for
You're
this
a
great
champion.
platform to be able to help our industry as well, which we both love so much. It's awesome.
Thanks again. We'll see you soon.
Okay,
All
definitely.
right.
See you
See you,
later.
bud. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.